concept albums, but it's worked out. It's kind of like a little extra hobby on top of just trying to write cool riffs, you know.
Fair.
Nice. Also,
All right, then we're going to Quasar again.
I just want to preface. I want to announce that I did not have audio recording for the first few minutes there, so I do apologize. But I do have audio now. So Memphi, I apologize. That first question was not caught. I apologize. My bad.
Down the drain, Memphi. Your question is down the drain.
Sorry, brother.
Damn.
Brother.
Damn, I guess we gotta go.
Damn.
We gotta go play Helldivers now. Interview over. Let's go.
All right.
Everyone on the ship.
All right. Ending stream. Here we go.
We're just gonna live stream Helldivers.
All right. Was that all the questions you had, Memphi?
What? Let me ask Memphi something. What is your thoughts on concept albums? Do you think it's an addition? Do you think it's
It is
an
definitely
auxiliary?
an addition because, well, to me it's an addition because like most albums, especially in like metal, are like the songs are kind of unrelated to each other in terms of like what they're talking about. With a concept album, like most stories are told through movies, books, graphic novels, that sort of thing. But so it's just another artist. How do I word this? It adds a deeper meaning, for the lack of a better way, to the music as opposed to just a cool song.
Yeah, I got
Now
you.
you have characters that are involved. Now you have a storyline that's being played out through the entire album. And yeah, sorry, I can't word it right.
No, it's cool.
I'm
the same way when describing tech, because it's so with concept albums that are just audio based, and we've talked about this before. It's without visuals, it's kind of odd. There's a lot of, it's one of the reasons why we've been trying to emphasize more specific art for like the lyric videos to try to give more audio visual cues, because in the past, around the, what was it, the right after the box set came out in 2018, me and Ricky we sat and we did our damnedest to try to make like a piece of art per song. And it was so time consuming to do, but it was kind of worth it, especially in those early stages, because it was like, oh, now you can take your eyes associated with what you're hearing, and it maybe will not maybe make direct sense, but at least open up the windows of like, oh, that's what this song's kind of leading on to. Because I mean, lyrics are always kind of hidden in a slight like fog of like poetry, so it's kind of abstract sometimes. We're not always on the nose, so the addition to visual stuff has always been kind of a goal of mine, and it seems like we're trying to get more visuals embedded with this to kind of help the storyline. It's like storyboarding as we go, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, with me, I have ADHD, and whenever I listen to the lyrics, I already picture what's going on in my mind of what is happening.
For sure.
Like you probably saw me post about this on Facebook, but I mentioned in Siege how the songs are kind of, they're similar, but they're a little bit different. Like there's a few like Claw the Dirt, which sounds very, very slow and very deliberate. Like you're just like Enyo's forces are just inching upon inching on Acronian territory. And then there's others like Siege, the title track, where it's like complete chaos, like uh like the opening scene from Saving Private Ryan type.
I feel you.
Mhm.
My favorite movie, my second favorite movie of all time. Nice, good call.
And then
Yeah,
there's also like Xenon, which sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. And there's also like Xenon, which for some reason, whenever I picture like the storyline in Xenon, it's always at nighttime. I don't know if that's because I'm already
Hmm.
like I've seen because of like the artwork, but like all the images in my head regarding Xenon, like it's always taking place at night, especially when Alithia and Amentis are on the planet.
That's interesting. I never heard that before. That's a cool description though. It's weird how that happens. It's always at nighttime. Hmm.
Cyberpunky.
Not always, but it's just specifically Xenon.
Yeah. No, it maybe you think that's due to the atmosphere, or do you think that's just? I mean, God, that was a decade ago, so it's kind of hard to reach back that far to remember what captured you, and why. Because I know exactly what you mean about how some albums just have like a specific color to them or a certain aesthetic to them overall. But that's kind of like the
I feel like
subjectivity
it
of
has to
art.
do. Yeah, I feel like it has to do with the atmosphere. Like it's very not. It's very dark in terms of like I don't know.
Is it the musical like the
The music.
musical the music is dark, but and then that kind of overlapped into like visual cues, I guess.
Yeah, that's you put it in a better way than I could. Like the music itself is like dark, not necessarily the lyrics, but just the atmosphere. It kind of emphasizes like a darker tone, and that just kind of bled over into the the visions I have in my head of like, oh, it's taking place at night.
Gotcha. Cool. I understand.
Hmm. I could see that. A lot of people, whoever I've shown Xenon to, they say, "Oh, this is really dark," or it's got I've even heard some like Black Element vibes, um, for Xenon, and that would make sense because you like a lot of Demu stuff, Demu
Yeah,
gear.
yeah. That album did have a lot of uh a lot of the symphonic stuff in that was, I guess, dramatic. I would describe it as dramatic, but it's like kind of like what would you say? Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's got just a maybe ominous, depending on the song, of course. But I mean the overall tone of that album is kind of ominous, and that just kind of exacerbates the descriptions of what people hear. And yeah, I feel that. I think like when you describe like dark and nighttime, I kind of get that same vibe with like half of Akron's album too. Like that
Mm.
Akron's is a very dark album on my end. When I would say the same thing, kind of just with another album.
It's
But
weird because with Akron, I don't get the nighttime vibe,
yeah, that's
but that's
Nah,
probably
it's
that's the fun
because
interesting.
part.
it's
Interesting.
because with Akron, it's kind of like I don't have that. It's if anything, the the darker atmosphere is just because it's the aftermath of a war,
Fair enough.
and
Mm.
Fair enough.
yeah. Uh, I asked this one before, but you never got around to answering it. Probably because you had just released The World We Saved, and you're probably working on other things. But in the song King Breeder, Ennio mentions Amentis' father being in the war on Earth, establishing the relationship between the soldier of Earth and Amyntas himself. And in Thales, there's a single line, born of Thales, which implies that the soldier of Earth is not only Amyntas' father, but is named Thales. Is this true, or am I looking too deep into it?
Um, that's an interesting take on it. I think the Thales is Thales isn't a name for a person. So let me put it that way. So yeah, the Thales and Erebus and all that stuff is based off of there's some lore entwined within the center. Like I always use Acheron's cover as a good description of like the geography of the two planets, and in the center where the Erebus Bridge is, and all that. There's lore embedded inside of the God. This is going back to this is going back to around Xenon Acheron time about there's a and I don't know if I don't think I've ever described this in a song yet in its totality, but the theory is there's a piece. So what was the in Coexist, the song Coexist is to surrender. That song describes that song's just a combat song from top to bottom, and there's a certain, I don't have my lyrics in front of me, but there's a point where the war got so violent in that or that battle got so violent that chunks of the planet got hurled outside of like chunks of the planet got hurled upward so high that it stayed in orbit. And Thales is actually a piece of that Earth that was actually kind of like that was stored in the middle of between both planets as kind of like I wouldn't say a memorial, but like a memory of like the war, because the time jumps are pretty drastic, and I'm not very good at keeping things linear. So Thales is more of a place slash thing than it is a person slash name. And
Okay.
I could probably
And
get into that in the future for sure.
just so I heard you right, you're seeing that like there's there's a chunk of Acheron that's just orbiting the planetary system, or is it just Acheron?
It's a piece of Acheron. So like the description, I remember having this conversation and trying to describe this to Holch in the past, where it was like a piece of like a big piece of rock with like a tree on it, and it's encapsulated and used as like a as a warning between both planets. It's kind of like a flag in the ground. It's like, look what we did. We'll do it again. You know, this is what we do type things in terms of conflict between two parties. So yeah, it's more of a it's more of a I'm still waking up, so I apologize, guys. I'm so good. Yeah, Thales and Erebus are kind of in a sense connected to to as a. I wish I could draw it out for you to make it more more. Yeah, well, there you go. Let me make that note. I'll make some art for that. That'll be dope. Yeah, yeah. So to answer your question, the Thales is more of a more of a more of a thing slash object that it is a name or person. But you are right about the soldier on Earth and Amyntas's connection. That's what King Breeder was meant to
Okay.
kind of allude to.
Okay. And then speaking of the Acro-Empyrean War, it apparently it initiated due to Empyrean straight up declaring war, according to the lore as of now. But how did it exactly start? Like, did Imperium fabricate some attack or motivation over the years, or was it just unprovoked?
Well, the one thing that gets the one thing that I wanted to bring back into the fold in terms of describing, just it's cool to write about. It everybody likes their war games and their war movies, and it's easy to kind of just be like, let's get into the fun and action. And I realized like, oh shit, I need to kind of give a reason instead of just like, oh, look at they just turned bloodthirsty all of a sudden. It's not like the Uriks of Mordor just showing up and wanting to fight. So what I did in the album Siege was try to Siege was Ennio's perspective of gathering forces, preparing, laying siege, conquering, so on and so forth. That whole album is just Ennio's perspective. Venator and Cenotaph had some descriptions in the sense of at this point in time. Once again, I don't have like particular year descriptions based on timelines yet, but the one thing that it's kind of like a peace period after both planets are kind of colonized and the societies grow, so on and so forth. The one thing that I don't know if it was in Purity Storm, the song Purity Storm, but there was every Titanborn, all at this point, post conflict, all post I guess post not post conflict, post, I guess this would be peacetime. If Titanborns were to leave the proximity of their Titans, that it would actually be. I typed this out maybe like 6 months ago when we were kind of having our own little Q&A just through texting or through messaging, and when Alithia was witnessing the attack on Acheron, she decided to leave her position because they're all kind of allocated across both planets. They all got there. I kind of associate a lot of the Titanborns with like I don't know, maybe like Greek gods. They kind of have their own little elements associated with them, their own little what they're meant to do, what their premise is, and a lot of I think it was Alithia, take one more step, you'll be later labeled a traitor, is a line from one of the songs on
Blood Feud.
You're right.
That's
that
Blood
would be
Feud
Blood
erotica.
Feud. So it alluded to or at the end of Siege going into Venator and Cenotaph, it was very much Alithia chose to kind of like, what would you call it, abandon her post, so to speak. And
Desertion.
well, not desertion. She took it upon herself to kind of disrupt the whole system by, okay, you're going to wage a war against for multiple reasons. I'm going to go help, and what happens is all the Titans are when Alithia left, the Titans that were, I guess, idling ended up being shut down, which was massively detrimental to, let's say, this fictional double planet situation going on. So it's kind of convoluted. I'm kind of convoluted, and I apologize, but it's I kind of need like a whole. I need all my lyrics in front of me to be able to kind of sift through them. But yeah, it's the war wasn't just like, oh, let's go take over a planet. There's little intricacies of I don't know if it's power dynamics, but it's very much like, because we've talked about like using the small planet of Akron was then, with the rings around it, was used as kind of like a power source for the larger planet Empyrean, and when that all stops, so it's kind of, there's these little intricacies of, I can't be, once again, this is the difficult part of concept albums through just audio without visual representations. It's kind of a little bit blurry, and that's kind of what I've liked, because we're not writing like a show or a screenplay yet. So it's kind of like, I don't really get too caught up on like, on day 2, this is exactly what this happened, because it's not really necessary. And I found that if I get too caught up in being overly detailed, it's like, then I get it. Like I've said this before, it's like, I don't want to write a book on tape. So I still want art. I still want lyrics to be kind of generalized, even though they might mean something specific to me and like the little in the story, but they still got to be good lyrics that can be used in other aspects. There's a lot of allegories in the lyrics, so there's double meanings in the sense of, I need to, when I write lyrics, I try to depict how I feel in the real world, in our world, situations that go on in our world, and then kind of merge them into a different world in a sense where I could still make a decent song, tell a slightly, tell a fictional story embedded with that, but not going overboard to the point where it's like, timeline number 3, this is exactly what happens, so on and so forth. So it's not, I never get overly caught up with the story stuff, because I can't, I haven't gotten to the point. Once again, I was thinking about this recently, where a lot of the reason that concept albums just keep kind of happening is there's all these gaps. As I write, I start filling in more chunks of the story as I go. And I think in time, eventually, all stories will come to an end. I don't know when that's going to be, but as I go along, I seem to kind of be carving off each little section or each little placeholder over time, and kind of trying to make more sense. That's why there's a lot of albums that kind of jump timelines, because I was like, oh shit, I could talk about this, like by not doing an album this year, I decided that I was going to, The World We Saved was it was a precursor to, what would that be? It was in the same timeline as The World We Lost, just a different character perspective. And I was like, oh, I should probably describe more of what's going on at the same time, because The World We Lost was mostly based off of the Soldier of Earth's depiction of what's going on there. It's like, well, let's also fill in the gaps for other characters during the same time period. I was like, oh, let's do that. I kind of want to do that. That's kind of how I work through storylines. I'm not sitting around being like, okay, well, chapter 1 is going to be about this, chapter 2 is going to be about that. It's more or less kind of a free-flowing story that's kind of getting filled in as we go.
Nice. Were Anna and Nicole a one-off thing, or are there plans for them to join as dedicated vocalists / recurring guests?
They're coming back. It's already been planned.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I could possibly interrupt for a moment,
Go for it.
I just want to say, Joe, God damn it, it's good to actually talk to you. Oh my fucking god, it is so good to actually talk to you from finally.
It's a hot minute, my dude. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been like what, 3 years now.
It's been a minute. Yeah,
4 years. Yeah.
it's
Um.
good to see you.
Yeah. I don't want to interrupt it because this is a really interesting conversation. Just how's life treating you these days, man?
Oh, just living the dream, as everybody knows. Things are fine. I'm. It's been a wild 6 months, and everybody in the band's had a wild 6 months. So we're doing our best. We're keeping it together, and but yeah, it's been okay.
How's David doing?
Dave's doing fine. Him and I don't we don't talk to each other every day. So we're kind of moving along at life's pace. Everybody's doing pretty good. Mel and I are really have become like the ultimate tag team together. Like her and I work together so good. So like the one thing that I'm always really happy to have is people like Mel, because she's in it to win it too, and she's so easy to work with. So like I'm really happy that I got good, kind, and helpful. I would call them coworkers, but that's demeaning. Like my friends are who I work with, so I can't complain. It's been a good
Yeah,
time.
sorry to interrupt. Just yeah, fucking
No worries.
yeah.
All good, my dude.
Yeah. Well, Memphi, did you have any other questions? We can move on to Queefer Soul. If not,
Best
this one
name
was just
ever.
brought up. Yeah. This one was just kind of brought up by chance, but it was just kind of like, I'm just going to ask just because why not? How open would the band be to future fans in your music? For example, a guitar solo by Cosmic, world building spoken word by others, etc.
It's a good question. On the music front, that's on the music front, on like musicality fronts. I once again, that's kind of because I do all the pre-production and like all the songwriting and all the demos and stuff like that. I'm very pragmatic when it comes to doing albums, in the sense of, okay, well, who who's going to be on this album? Well, I'll figure that out when I get there, because I need to, like, my theory is like I need to get like a song in, let's say, a 50%. Anyone who's written a song knows what I mean by when I need a song to be at like 50%. Once it's at 50%, I can start to kind of feel like where the strong points are in this, for like who's going to be where. And as time goes on, the voiceover stuff for sure, like I've had non-band members do non-official band members do voiceover stuff, like some of Mel's friends done it, some friends that I have that are actual voice, Cecilia Negron, that was on a few of our previous albums. She's a voice actor that I knew for years, and she was also in a band in Chicago as well. So it's kind of, I was like, well, I need voiceovers. Who should I hit up? Who do I know right off the bat? And that usually comes like when the song's at 75% done, where I was like, oh, okay, this song needs a solo. Who do I hit up? Or this song needs a secondary vocalist. Okay, who would fit well? Very pragmatic, because I don't really I don't really dictate, you're going to be on this song, and you're going to be on this song, and you're going to be on this song. Sometimes it's like, if everybody's got vocal ranges, so like, for example, between Dave and Mel and Anna Hell and any other vocalist, it's very much based on what's going to make the, does this song sound, does it, and once again, I don't get really too caught up on like the characters, because Mel and Dave have sung lyrics in songs that maybe would depict a character I don't like associating characters with a single vocalists all the time, because then it's kind of like, they call it Mickey Mousey, where it's kind of just like A B, don't want to make it too on the nose. So I kind of just let the song. I tell a lot of people this too, where there's bands that I've worked with that I'm not in, but like I wouldn't say co-produce, but you know, I'm helping them out, and a lot of the things I say is let the song guide you. Like once you put in the work and the song kind of gets its feet on the ground, it will start walking, and you've kind of got to follow its lead to a degree. And that's where, you know, I'm working with a band that's out of state, and they're doing like a full length album, for example, and they're trying to get all these they're trying to get like 13 songs done. And I just tell them, I'm like, instead of sitting, some people will sit on an entire song for a year, and I'm just like, oh my God, just go with it. Don't let the song finish it. And not every song you ever write is going to be the best song. Everybody starts a song being like, mate, this is going to be the one. This is going to be a great song. And then the album comes out, and then lo and behold, you know, as if you wrote 10 songs, chances are by the time you're done with it, you're only going to like maybe like 3 or 4 of them personally. But I still tell people, it's like, Wings of Nepheli is like our number 2 Spotify song, and I'll openly admit it, I never finished that song. That song is unfinished to me. I released that song unfinished because that was on Acheron, and Acheron, I messed up that release. I was a week and a half late on that release, and I didn't finish the Wings of Nepheli. That song was not done, and for some reason, it's our number 2 Spotify song. So if that's the case, I don't really know how to gauge anything anymore, if you know what I mean. I mean, imagine finishing like an unwritten paper, and then you got an A for it. You'd be like, okay, I guess I'm not going to think about it too hard. So going back to going back to that, I don't really, I want to make sure that it's stated that it's very much, I very much keep the concepts and the stories and the lore and the vocalist choice till later in the game, because I kind of need I need some substance to work with before I can kind of allocate the details, you know. There's never once was I like, okay, this is exactly what the song is about. This is exactly who I want on it. Because by the time I'm halfway through the song, it's already evolved 2 or 3 times at a different vibe. And it's not worth the stress early on. So I'm kind of I throw my hands up. I'm like, let's just write something. Let's just get the song going, and we'll figure out the details later.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying about like, oh, it's you write something and it comes out as like your number 2, you get an A for it. I'm like, yeah, I've seen that with like, you probably know where in like Storytime, the Storytime channel, where I've been posting my semi fan fiction based on on the As Emperors Turn to Dust. And like I wrote Conqueror or Empyrean, and both of those got like whenever I showed people those, they all were like, damn, this is amazing. And I'm like, there's something missing here though. I totally get what you mean by that.
And that's okay. You know, that's kind of the beauty of art, so to speak, is it kind of it doesn't translate. You play one song in front of 2 different people, it's the same song, but it's hitting them differently, and it's impossible to predict. And that's kind of the fun part about it, you know. Some people's favorite songs are songs that I just don't listen to, and some of my favorite songs aren't even in the top 10. And I'm not the type of person who's like, okay, well, my top 10 Spotify songs are what people like, I got to write songs just like that. I don't think like that. You know, that's just chasing a carrot at that point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I don't have any more questions, so the next person can hop on in.
Fair
Thanks,
point.
Mephi.
Cheers, Memphi,
Yep.
for the questions. We're gonna move next to
Cheers.
Queefer Soul. Queefer Soul, you're up, brother.
Werther.
Brother.
Hey, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, I decided to change the name this time around because of Archon, so all thanks to him. This is taken for a bit. Just before I get to just a couple questions of mine, I do want to ask, how are your dogs doing? How are your little puppers doing?
The best. They're the best. My little one is 2 years old now, and he's the best lab I've ever owned in my life.
Oh.
He's just the happiest thing in the world. So yes, my dogs are great. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it. No, I just
That's it.
I'm just only here to know about your dogs. That's it.
Where's the woofs? Don't make me start posting pictures. I'll do it. I'll be
Oh
I'll be
no,
one of those
please.
people.
Pet
Please
chat.
don't.
Space creatures.
Start spamming the chat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the main question I want to ask here is that over your last few releases, go back to Blessing, Cenotaph album, and even this most recent The World We Save single. Are there any new tips and tricks that you sort of picked up on your own, or learned, or basically, is there anything new in your I cannot word stuff. It's too early for me. I'm not a morning person.
We're all like that right now. It's all good, buddy. Are
Basically,
you talking
is
about
there-
songwriting, like musical, like or like studio techniques or songwriting techniques? Like, is it or both?
Pretty much, yeah. Is there anything new in your is there anything new on how you're approaching your production, or any older tricks that you used in your earlier work that you're kind of falling back on for this one? Any new virtual instruments? Pretty much like what would you consider new in your when you're working here? I did not graduate English, my bad.
The one thing that I've as I continue to grow older, the one thing that I've discovered is being less hard on myself when I go down into the studio and I load up a session, and let's say for example the session's empty. There's nothing there, and I got to start something from scratch. Very lax, very, very chill, and I don't pressure myself into saying like you have to get something figured out today. And that sounds kind of, well, duh, like obvious, Joe, but as an artist, that's anybody who does any type of art realizes that you can kind of get in your own head and you end up traffic jamming your own brain and workflow.
Can relate.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I do is I give myself the benefit of the doubt of understanding, like, you know, these things take time. So if I go downstairs and work on something that's barely started or nothing at all, I realize like this is part of the plan now. I've got enough. I think we have at least 9 hours of music at this point. So after that much music, it's kind of you find where, you know, okay, let me give you a better example.
Mm-hmm.
I'll load up a virtual instrument and I'll start skimming through some stuff. Let's say I need some motive. Let's say I'm not going to just like lay down a piano part and try to find some root notes to start a song, and I want maybe like an atmosphere. If I give myself like a 15-minute rule, as I'm looking, as I'm looking for stuff, if I'm trying to find something that might catch that little warm fuzzy feeling you get where you're like, ooh, okay, that sound in that key sounds really cool. Can I build off that? If nothing happens in 15 minutes while I'm searching through, I usually be like, okay, stop, go somewhere else. Don't fret that you didn't find anything, or don't fret that nothing came about it. Even the sessions that are a few hours long, sometimes I got to get up and walk away and go do something else for a little bit and not stick around. A lot of the time, as Empyrean, Xenon, Acheron, that time period in my life was very much, it was all learning, especially with the time frames allocated to it that were self-inflicted, I have to admit. So going through all that, I've realized to be a lot easier on myself, which then helps me work better over time. So is there new virtual instruments? There's always new virtual instruments to play with. There's always new tech to play with. Songwriting wise, once again, it's kind of dependent. Like I said, I'm very lax on how songs are made, because you'd be surprised the simplest start on a song can actually become really complex over time. So I've just tried to be less obtrusive on my workflow in my own head, so I don't just get flustered and flip the table over and be in a bad mood because my expectations were too high, especially early on. When people are doing demos and stuff, it's like, bro, it's a demo, let it go. Like you you can keep making it better over time. It's first draft, second draft, third draft type stuff. So technique wise, it's mostly a mental game at this stage, because I've told people this before. It's like I have the benefit of having kind of like an endless pit of creativity. Like I could just jump into it and find something. It's not hard for me to do that, but like every demo and every first draft, it's kind of dirty. It's kind of weird, and me realizing, hey, don't get discouraged. Just work on it tomorrow. See if you can soften the edges of what's bugging you. Because any artist will tell you the first thing that'll get in your way is yourself. So with that in mind, that's kind of my new philosophy, and I've kind of learned that over the last few years, is just go with the flow, don't get frustrated, and ask for help when you need it too. That always helps. I mean, Mel is such a absolutely golden asset to the band, because she's like just a little version of me, and we work really good together. And because I'm not a vocalist, I write lyrics, but I can't sing. I haven't sung in a long time, and she loves singing. So it's like, hey Mel, I've got this song, I need help. Can you come in and sing over it and give me some new ideas, just like an instrument? And she's like, absolutely. And she comes in, she gives me all these cool takes, and then I got another instrument to play with. And then she usually solves the problem from going from 50% to 75%. So it's just knowing where your tool sets are and letting it and running with them and not getting too caught up in your own head.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, you pretty much just knocked out both questions that I pretty much just mainly wanted to ask for the session. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Queefer.
Quasar.
I'm reading Quay for Soul, brother. Brother.
Brother.
Yes, excellent take. Yeah, the dynamics of having multiple people doing music stuff offers that new perspective that can certainly save you in certain scenarios. All right. let me see here. I think Chorus, I'm probably pronouncing that, Choros, I think was next.
You're talking to me, I guess.
Yes, Borther, we're talking to you, Borther. If you had any questions, you're up next.
Huh.
You just throw right on the spot.
Yeah.
You need a minute, man. It's all good. Don't worry.
It's okay, Borther.
He just called you out. He's like, hey,
Take all the time you need, brother.
What's the meaning of life?
Oh boy.
The meaning of life.
Next album.
Yeah, pretty much.
Coming soon, TM.
Boy, the meaning of life. Fuck. I'm gonna be the guy and say I don't know if I'm not sure there is one.
No. I mean, it's not actually a serious question. Like, no,
and my answer is not quite serious as well. But yeah, okay. that's for each individual to kind of discover on their own, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I was just it's just kind of something I say when I
I panicked and just asked.
Yeah, exactly. It's like must sound deep and profound and intellectual. Fuck. Hey, what's the like that? Yeah. So,
what's the moon made out of? Fuck.
Oh,
cheese.
The moon is hollow.
It's not hollow, it's flat. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Dude,
the moon is a donut.
I wonder about. I wonder if flat earthers and hollow earthers make fun of each other.
Oh,
they do.
Man.
I've been wondering about that for a while.
I want to see that on the debate
I want to
stage.
know.
They have to.
Could you imagine that debate?
Who would moderate?
You have one group of people that believe the Earth is flat, and in order for an Earth to be hollow, it has to be round.
Yeah, you know.
So like they have to make fun of each other.
I wonder about that. You know, like do flat earthers and hollow earthers make fun of each other? I want to know.
You better hope they don't join forces.
I'm going on Reddit right now to find out.
Oh no! Don't go to Reddit to find out. Do not go to Reddit to find out.
The home of all human knowledge.
No, you will not find information on Reddit.
Hollow Earth extermination sequence.
Could you imagine? Oh my god!
It was a ruse this whole time.
Mechina LARPers get a bit too into it.
Yeah. Back when I used to be on Zuckbook years ago, I posted that, and somebody posted in the comments, "You're all wrong," and it's a picture of Earth as a like a tetrahedron, like a four-sided pyramid.
Ew. That's cursed.
Anyway, I guess I'll relinquish my my place in the order to the next person, because I can't really. I honestly, I just want to talk to Joe. I didn't know that this was a question and answer thing, but yeah, if it is, then yeah, I'll just go ahead and defer to the next person.
Alrighty, no problem with that. If you come up with a question, we'll be here for a little bit. Feel free to punch in, or type in voice chat that you have a question or something. We'll come back around to you. All right, I believe Creature was next. The Creature, you're up next. Hello.
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 Hi.
Hi.
Skippy is my big brother. I'm the sister that got hooked in because he was playing it in the... I know exactly how I got into Mechina, and it's really funny. I'm just going to divulge that real quick because it might make your day.
Go
on. Skippy was helping me make the trip to college. Like, he was, helping me make the drive down because it was a 13-hour drive. He keeps asking, can I put Mechina on? It was right after Telesterion had come out and he wanted to listen to it really bad. And I'm like, no. I was insistent that I didn't like metal, even though I hadn't really listened to that much of it. Can I put it on? No. Please? No. If I take an extra 2 hours driving, can I please listen to it?
What a
Oh,
savage.
sure.
An extra
And then-
2 hours.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, sure. I let him put it on. I'm like kind of listening skeptically. And then I catch my hand drifting to the volume knob, not to turn it down, but to turn it up. And I just remember he looked over at me with the most million-watt smile. And he's like, you like this? I'm like, admittedly, yeah, I do. I like it a lot. And ever since then, I've been listening to Mechina anytime I'm like doing heavy lifting work. I work at a public aquarium and I do a lot of heavy exertional work, and Mechina gets my blood flowing.
There you go. There you go.
Excellent.
Very good.
So I guess my question is, so I asked Skippy if he had any questions, and he said, nope, not that I can think of. And I'm shocked. I don't really believe that. Anyway, considering he's the biggest fanboy of you guys and has been since he was a teenager. Do you have, so, I mean, there's obviously the corny question of, like, what was your favorite song to write? But I guess, what is the thing that, is there a song that you love that you honestly think would be surprising to most people, I guess?
Surprising? Probably not. Well, "The World We Lost" is my favorite song that I've done, and
That's somehow not surprising.
yeah, I don't know what happened in that. You you know what it really was? When Akron came out in January. I think it was January 10th of 2025, because we were so behind on that album, and I'm kind of a broken record when it comes to the Akron album, because boy was that. That was a difficult album to get through, just especially on time, especially doing it on time. After I learned a lot of lessons from the Acheron debacle, I think a lot of that realization of like coming to grasp was like, oh, great job, Joe, you missed the deadline. Oh, great job, Joe, you finished about 75% of the album. Good job. Did you learn a lesson? And then I kind of took that and just smashed right back into it, and "The World We Lost" came right after that, and I was like, okay. I kind of take it personal on myself when I haven't really fumbled an album. I guess most people wouldn't consider like Akron being a fumbled album, but to somebody who kind of was there for 3 months watching the time slowly come to come to January 1st, being like, oh shit, I'm not sure I'm going to finish that. "The World We Lost" was kind of my personal vindictive, like, hey Joe, you better make up for the fact that you tripped 100 times during the last album. And "The World We Lost" is probably my jam, but honestly, "Claw at the Dirt" from Siege is one of my favorite albums, because to me, I could literally screenwrite that entire song. It's so visual to me. So every time I listen to it, I know it's fun to listen to, because I see from the beginning to the end all the visual elements that kind of helped me write songs. So it would either be "Claw at the Dirt" or "The World We Lost."
Claw at the Dirt is actually, I'm, that surprises me, but also looking at it, I can see exactly why. Because I feel like that's when, in the album at least, it steps down from like macro to micro pacing from a writing standpoint.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it's describing an exact moment very visually, viscerally. Micro pacing is one of my favorite things to do when I'm writing.
There you go. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't write songs, but I do write fiction. And
Same.
I know micro pacing a scene is really fascinating, and also combining songs and fiction like you do is quite impressive, dare I say. Um, uh, I feel like I had another question. Do you hmm. I guess if you could play any instrument and like get away with it, what or use any instrument and get away with it that like is not a traditionally used instrument, what would you go for?
Oh boy. Not a traditional instrument.
I'm just asking because Skippy keeps on like showing me the more in her he's fixing.
Yeah.
I guess that if I may interject, I think that what Creature is saying is like more like an uncommon instrument, like not
That's what I mean. Yeah.
not traditional in the sense of like
Or
thousands of years old, but traditional in the sense of like you hear it all the time.
Commonly used for
Yeah,
the genre you're writing.
or 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 non-traditional in the sense of like you don't hear it in metal, like how Tesseract had a song with a saxophone.
I know. Yeah, a good call. Yep, I know exactly. Man, that's a question I'm not sure.
Like, what would you like? I don't know, Mechina on Balalaika or something like that.
I would be
on the
I-
kazoo.
the kazoo.
No.
Yeah. Just put a bunch of
Harmonica.
distortion on it.
Bongos.
I suppose the one instrument that I really wish I was super that I would be super I wish I was more proficient on would be just a violin, believe it or not, because there's so much just a lot of my passive listening music is not metal, so I listen to a lot of like I don't know like I don't want to say ambient, but I listen to a lot. Maybe folk would be like kind of like tribal folk stuff, like very very raw ambient things, and a lot of enjoyment of just because metal's great, but I'm not like a staunch metal fan in a sense. So I wish I knew how to play violin because I'd be putting way more violin solos in in my music if I was able to play it. A lot of the violins solo violins that I've put in Mechina have been painstakingly artificially mocked up in a realistic way. So I wish that would be something that I wish I could just put a mic up to and rip away on. But other than that, trust me, my 9 and 10 string guitar is already odd enough and a pain in the ass enough to play. So I'm going to stick with that.
Well, I know that Skippy's a huge fan of your extended range guitars. In fact, like,
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
what?
Did we just lose somebody?
Hey, wait.
Okay.
Huh?
You disappeared for a second.
Chicken check.
Wait.
Chicken all.
No, sorry.
You disconnected for a second.
You're good.
Apologies. My Wi-Fi is protesting. Anyway, I know that one of the first things that Skippy will always like try to figure out when you put something out is like, what were you playing on it? And then also, I mean, it's kind of, I think like we both have perfect pitch, so whichever one of us will listen to it first will be like, it's in the key of fill in the blank. And then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Huh?
I never put I remember somebody just posted on the Facebook fan page about guitar tabs, for example, and I'm just like I wanted to post it, but I don't want to really post on Facebook anymore. But a lot of it is I'm kind of a set it and forget it type guy when it comes to guitars because I look at when Mechina played live for since I think our first show was 2004, and we played till 2013 live.
Yeah.
And being in a more quote unquote traditional band where it's 4 or 5 piece, I think we were up to a 6 piece at a point because we had keyboards, and somebody operating, like, I wouldn't call it backing tracks. I mean, we have a lot of strings and stuff. So when we played live, we didn't have a string section on stage. We ran our or the sound effects and stuff like that. We would have someone like that. So I would always be just the guitar player slash, I guess, manager, whatever that means. So by being the quote unquote guitar player of the band, that's where I kind of decided I can write more, I write all the drums too. So the thing is, like, I look at guitars as just a tool. I look at all the instruments as like a tool that needs to be used for a certain project. So when I look at guitars as just kind of an object to get further along with the song, I don't really get too caught up on how awesome is my guitar riff on the. I see this with bands all the time that I'm around and stuff like that. It's where everybody's trying to be like, but this is like, make sure my part is this. And when the band kind of turned into a studio project, it was like, okay, well, I can't just like prioritize one instrument over the other. So when I write my guitars and I record them, I kind of forget what I did. And it's not on purpose. It's just the way I look at it. It's like, okay, this riff works really good across this part of the song. Great. Move it on to the next instrument. Let's see what we can do here. And then by the time the song's done, it's like, man, I would have to go back and replay it all at once and then write it down. And I just don't do that. So the guitar stuff, I'm like the last person to be able to give you definitive information in regards to what, like, what key everything's in, because some songs are based, some songs root notes are different, and sometimes I have to just tune my guitars differently to make them play better in that key, and then the next song is a different key and I got to retune, and I'm not keeping track. Once again, I'm kind of just really laid back with it. Not very much a guitar player, believe it or not.
Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. I guess my last question is one that I'm sure people have wondered a lot. Or maybe, I don't know. What are some of the funniest things that you think have happened in the studio behind the scenes?
That's a good question.
Want to tell him the noodle story?
Huh?
Oh, how? Yeah, I can tell
story.
The noodle story.
Meme.
The pontificating the noodle. Yeah, I guess that would be pretty funny. So about 3 months ago, I was working in the studio, and I use Amplitude 4, or I think it was Amplitude 4, which is just a virtual instrument guitar emulator. And it's pretty intensive on the computer. Like it requires a lot of juice, especially if you have a lot of them running as a plugin. And I was recording it was on, and it was just CPU spiking, so my computer would lock up and freeze, and I was like, oh no, and replaced all the drivers, switched ports on my interfaces, trying to just troubleshoot why all of a sudden my computer was crashing, kind of, or freezing. And spent all day, all night ripping the studio apart, trying to figure out what the problem was. And I was like, okay, nothing's working. let's open up the computer. I open up the side of the computer. I look in, get the flashlight. I live kind of out in the forest area, so there's a lot of like critters running around, and everybody's got mice, and some mouse decided to crawl inside of my computer, take a piece of uncooked pasta. I don't know where he got it, probably from my cabinet, and put it inside of one of my my cooling fans for my CPU. So the CPU fan was just not running at all. And I open it up and I look inside, and there's just this noodle sitting on my CPU. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. I was like, a mouse just destroyed a whole day's session because of a noodle. And then I pulled it out. And I put it on my keyboard, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to because a few people involved were wondering what was going on, and I said, and people were like, what the fuck is a noodle have to do with it? But then I left it on the keyboard, and then as a side, I was like, man, I should put this on the wall. I should just put it in a little thing and staple it to the wall and be like, never forget. But then lo and behold, the noodle's gone. The mouse took it back, and I don't know where it is.
What?
Yeah, it's gone. The noodle disappeared. So
Let's take it away.
dude, yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion if I open up the computer again, it's going to be in there somewhere. The little shit. So yeah, I mean that was pretty funny because Mike and I were talking last night about computers and stuff, and I was telling him, I was like, man, I was so frustrated because I couldn't figure out what, like, once you've done the whole troubleshooting on anything, whether it's a car or computer, whatever, and you're just sitting there like, I've tried everything. You're sitting be like, man, I'm gonna take my credit card and I'm gonna go make a bad decision on Newegg and buy a whole new rig because I'm angry. And lo and behold, it was just a noodle.
Yeah, most recently the thing that I had that happened like that was I spent like at least an hour of work that I will never get, an hour of my life that I will never get back at work, fuming over what the hell was wrong with the spectrophotometer and why it wouldn't turn on, and then I realized it was plugged into the wrong outlet, the outlet that we have all been told does not actually supply any power.
Damn.
Oh no.
Damn.
Rip.
Yeah, that's an hour of my life I will never get back.
Yeah, you got to take those things in stride. You know, it was a relief knowing that, like, well, all I had to do is move a noodle out of the way of a fan, and my computer worked. I was like, oh, what a relief! But God, do I feel stupid?
Yeah, that's like how many hours of your life that you'll never get back?
That was a good 8 hours of troubleshooting for me. Because I have a FireWire interface, which is a little bit old school now in the grand scheme of things. And FireWire is not, what do they call it? Hot swappable or hot. You can't just, like USBs, you can plug in and out of things and it doesn't break or, FireWire, you can blow your ports up because it's actually kind of hot. It's got signal in it. So every time I had to switch a port and a cable, I'd turn the whole rig down, unplug the power supply, wait for the electricity to get out of the system, pull the cable out, plug it in, turn it on, test. And then, I don't have a lot of cables. I've tried to keep my system pretty streamlined because I've worked in big studios before, and I do not like patch bays. I do not like cables all over the place. When something goes wrong, it takes you forever to retrace the problem. So I've tried to keep it relatively simple, but man, it still takes a while.
Yeah, I was forced to become very good at cable management after adopting a pet rabbit.
Fair. Understood.
Spicy hay.
Yeah, the funny stuff in the studio is kind of it's when we're grinding through and we've got a let's say a goal to be set for the day, like, okay, by the end of the day we're going to have X done. I'm fortunate enough to be working with my friends, so in the meantime, if somebody fucks up on the if somebody's doing vocals and they fuck up, we always try to have a laugh about it, because I've worked with hundreds of artists, and I've seen the whole spectrum of of emotions when both good and bad things happen. So I try to always be like, well, we can at least poke fun at it and have a laugh and move on. And some of it's pretty funny.
I smirk now anytime I'm listening to The World Be Saved and I hear the word extinction.
Why is that?
Because you posted that quote from Mel at one point. It's like, I didn't know I could make the word extinction sound so sexy.
Oh yes, that was a Mel quote. When
was that? I don't remember that.
It was a few months ago, right?
Yeah, I think
Facebook, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
That's probably why I haven't been on the Zuck machine in a shit long time.
Blame you, man.
Keep doing that.
Yes, keep doing that.
It's way healthier.
Yeah, quitting social media for the most part has been good for my health. I know. Anyway,
basically, I'm on Telegram and Discord nowadays. Pretty much, that's basically it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can turn it over to the next person. I don't have anything else to ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. I believe, Levy, you are up, brother. Border.
First, you pronounce my name correctly, and then you change to wrong pronunciation.
Oh, I did? Oh, my bad. My bad, brother.
Oh, God.
Before
I had a talk.
If you don't mind my asking, where are you from?
Sweden.
No, sure. Varifrån i Sverige?
Hey.
Far south. In Skåne.
Malmö.
Not that far, but a bit further north.
So I ask because I studied Swedish for 7 years, and I find it interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
Yeah, before I had a lot of questions, but now my head is somehow empty.
If you, give me guys 1 minute. I'm gonna go grab a drink real quick, and then you guys can gather your thoughts. I'll be right back. My apologies.
Okay.
Yeah.
This should be a good potty break. I suggest everybody go potty if you gotta. I'm going to, so I'll be back.
It's like, does anybody need to go before we go?
Yeah.
I do have something fun to say. That there was one time I joined a voice chat, and a stranger asked me where you're from, right after I said one sentence, and he also asked if I'm from Sweden.
It's a beautiful accent, dude.
Yeah. Do notice that the accent from Skåne is completely different from the rest of Sweden.
Like, I remember, like, I was talking, because I visited Sweden. I was there for the 20th anniversary Opeth concert. Like, Opeth did a world tour for the 20th anniversary of existing as a band. And they played in 6 cities across the world. There are 2 of them in America, one in New York and one in Los Angeles. Where I'm from, I grew up in LA, even though these days I live in Canada. At the time that tickets were available, like that they had announced and I heard about it, like both the LA and the New York shows were completely sold out. Like totally and utterly. The only concerts where there was actually still tickets available were Paris and Sweden. My French is shit. And so I figured, like, all right, well, looks like I'm going to Sweden. So first thing I bought was my concert ticket. And then, what is it? I bought everything else. And the very, very last thing I got was my passport. and that was in 2010. And yeah, I remember at one point I was, while I was out, I was just kind of visiting. I was looking at I was going to music stores, like record vinyl stores and whatever, and at one point I was talking to this girl from like the way fucking like far north of Sweden, like around the area, yeah, like around the area that God, what was that? Fuck. I should know this name. There was a
Does it
book
start
that
with
came.
an S?
What's that?
Does it start with an S?
No. There was a book that came out a long time ago, based in a city called Vittula, um,
Oh.
which I don't know. Maybe you know. It's considered like a Swedish, like a Fenno-Swede classic.
I should know this. I think I have Swedish heritage on my dad's side.
I read a copy of it
I'm
in
back,
English. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back. I got my
No,
sip.
yeah. So yeah, like, and anyway, like, she was from like the far fucking north of Sweden, and god damn, that is one hell of an accent. Like, the way that they pronounce the e. I don't think I could ever breed. I don't think that I could ever like nail that properly. I don't think I'd be capable of like pronouncing the far north e correctly.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm getting it wrong now. I know that for a fact. But
Well. At least I'm proud to have ancestry from the same country that Meshuggah came from.
damn right.
Indeed.
Sugar.
Hey, Skippy,
Yes.
where'd you come from?
I don't know.
Hi, Skip.
Where did I come from? Between my mother's legs. That's right.
Hey, whoa.
It doesn't-
You mean our mothers?
Yes. And that's where you came from too, by the way.
False.
Wow, I had no idea.
I came out of
I
a
thought
belly.
I thought Mom bought me at Kmart. Wow.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Does Kmart still exist?
Negative.
I wish.
Does it?
Nope,
I don't
it's
know.
gone.
Did Kmart went out of business? Really? When was this?
Yes, a decade ago.
Yeah, about a decade
Wow,
ago.
I've been out of the loop for a while.
Damn.
Oh,
Capitalism.
bro, do you know that we have you acknowledged? You know, Mom's birthday is coming up, right?
Yes.
What are you getting her?
My continued existence in this hellhole of a planet.
Nice.
You
Yeah,
know
that's fair. Yeah,
Nice.
fair. Yeah.
You know, Dad has compiled a list of things that we might get for her, and there are actually even helpful Amazon links.
Ooh,
Sounds
shiny.
Sounds like firewood.
Because
Burn
we're two autistic losers who don't necessarily know how to get gifts.
Same.
Quote unquote losers.
Fellow autist checking in.
Fellow
Wave.
autism.
No,
Hello, Susan.
Hand wave.
we grew up in special education, and I don't say that as a bad thing because it's true.
I mean, like, what's the fun in anything different?
Yeah,
True.
you really think that I want to be neurotypical? Like, why would I want the capacity to get bored?
Yeah, that sounds boring.
Right.
Suffering from autism? No, I'm thriving, thank you.
Yeah, I'm thriving.
I
You're
have evolved
suffering-
past autism.
Excuse me, I do not suffer from autism. You are suffering from me.
You're suffering from being generic.
That is correct.
Name brand human? Nah. Make me that sketchy store brand.
I've never thought of that. God damn, I'm gonna like. Is it okay if I
Kirkland
steal that from you?
Go for it.
Awesome. Name brand human.
I am the Kirkland autist.
Name
The
brand
great
human
value
number-
autist.
Name brand human number 8. Name brand human number 9.
After playing War Thunder yesterday, I feel kind of the same way.
True. Goddamn Golden Eagles.
Dude.
Never get
Yeah.
them back.
No, they lied.
Thanks, China.
God, it's China.
All right. Question.
Levy,
So-
are you here, Levy?
Yes.
Levy.
All right, you're back on the spot. Go for
You're
it, buddy.
back on the.
Okay, let me pick few. Start with some better question and some less good question.
That's okay.
For a while ago, actually, let's start with the fun question. For a while ago, I posted a meme about the world we saved, but it is different spelling. So it becomes the D looks really similar to O, so it becomes the world we save you.
Didn't I post it with the? Oh, I posted the instrumental with the typo, didn't I?
I think
The
that
walled
said
we saved.
We saved.
Did.
Yes,
Yeah.
I noticed that.
The
Like,
wall.
oh, I was
That was
excited.
the first thing I noticed.
Was it the meme how it started versus how it's going?
I'm not sure.
No, it was just how when I read the text, the D looks really similar to O because it was
Yeah.
barely round at the corner.
Oh, though, gotcha.
So
Yeah.
the D in saved looks like an O on the text.
Savio.
I'll
Who's that
blame that
guy?
on Ricky.
Who's Savio, huh? New character.
Ugh.
How is Ricky doing, by the way? I haven't talked to him in a long time either.
Ricky's good. Ricky.
He's got a band
Ricky.
now, right?
Yeah, he's playing, and I think he just released his band. I think his band's called Terranoct,
Yeah, that's right.
and they just I think they released something not long ago, and it sounds great.
It's a good
I mean, those guys are really it sounds pro as hell.
Yes.
And Ricky's actually going to probably be joining joining us in the future too.
No shit.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's good fucking
Nice.
news.
Yeah, well, the stuff
Nice.
that's in the works right now is going to be quite interesting. There's a lot of delegation on my end that I've got to go through. There's going to be a lot of vocalists on this next project.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's mostly based off of now that I'm starting to. I guess I listen. I'm saying this with humility, but like learning character building is a pain in the ass, especially with no visual means right off the bat, just strictly through audio. But the one thing that I do want to kind of explore more of is bringing more characters into the fold through the story, and there's going to be some additions showing up soon in a good way. Nothing that's going to be out of the ordinary, but I think it's going to be very interesting, very very eclectic, so to speak. So
Nice.
Ricky's in the fold now too.
Actually, on that topic, you remember, like, ever since I sent you a copy of Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey.
I have the book over here.
Oh wow, yeah. Ever since that time, like, I have learned just through, like, being terrified that my work is gonna be bad. I've been, buying books and like, just reading and studying and practicing, and I've learned a shitload about character development. And fuck, man, there's like, I knew it was gonna be complex, and I knew it was gonna be a lot of work, dude. It is so much more complex than I could have predicted.
For sure. It seems that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Although that's kind of that's to me that difficulty is kind of the fun in it. Especially without it being too formalized. Like, it's okay to, like, there's nothing wrong with knowing, like, diving right in and getting, like, seeing how many I guess seeing the or seeing the trees from the forest, or the forest from the trees, whatever the term is. But trying to make characters, once again, I always have to preface this with this isn't a show, this isn't a movie, so without the visual cues and stuff like that, it's a little bit different in terms of trying to address characters and trying to make characters, I guess, people like, I mean, and this is my naivete, I guess, in the sense of character building, but making characters relatable, but also unrelated. Finding that balance between, you want a character a lot of characters in the Mechina stories based off of kind of I wouldn't say like individual backstories where we need like a whole. Well, to me, when I write music, I'm not like, okay, I need to make this entire backstory, because it's not helping with the song right off the bat. So I kind of be like, okay, well, what's what human trait am I? Alithia is a great example of kind of how I've been playing with character building, is seeing the ups and downs of good intentioned characters that are also capable of doing harm. I'm a big advocate of not realizing like good and bad people. Everybody's capable of good and everybody's capable of bad, and finding that blend between the two and seeing what sets certain, making a character like Alithia that wants to save a planet, then eventually turn into a monster for a time being, is interesting to me.
It's almost as if people have flaws.
Exactly.
And emotions.
Have we forgotten what it means to be human?
Yeah, fair enough. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. You're supposed to sing it that way, though. Are you gonna do a cover of? Are you gonna do a cover of that song? You should.
Go to the Forgotten Few? Yes,
Yeah.
I should.
Please sing it too.
I would love to.
It's like the most chill song I think we've ever written.
I mean, the joys of me being a baritone tenor cross between the two. That would.
Oh yeah, like an octave lower.
Yes, and I definitely have to drop it down an octave. Although I could probably hit those high notes, because I can get pretty damn high. I think the highest I've ever hit was like D5, I think.
That's up there.
Damn, bro.
That's my peak right now. It hurts.
I mean, it's loud when I do that. And let's see the lowest. E2 approximately.
In the still of the night.
Are we all gonna do a Gregorian Mongolian chant? So it's all
I can throat sing lower than that.
The Gregorian chant.
Yes, brother.
Don't make me record this and then put it in a song.
Do it.
Just everyone in the chat.
Do it.
Why is everyone out of key? No.
Where's the auto
If you let
tune?
Skippy throat sing for you, that might just make his existence.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, here him go.
Nice.
Imagine Mechina with throat singing.
Oh man, I
Let's
haven't
do it.
practiced it forever.
Why not? All right. Yes, brother.
It just sounds
That
painful.
is so low.
Brutal.
That is so low. Your mic is having trouble picking it up.
Yeah,
It's just like
also
static.
because it's probably also because I haven't practiced in a while.
Fair.
Technically, the pitches I was hitting would be with my true chords, false chords an octave lower, so B2 and B1. That sucked.
He's gonna end up
you haven't
shitting
warmed up
himself
either.
on Discord.
Fuck, I haven't practiced forever.
Go practice, man.
All right. Yeah.
It sounds so painful. Fuck. I don't want to try. I don't want to try.
Yeah.
You should get Dave
Like-
to try it out.
It's like I keep wanting to just like I want a throat sing, but it just keeps morphing into a roar or something like a something like that.
His microphone had a moment with that one.
Noise
Yeah.
suppression can take it out.
It
sound like
somehow morphs into Chewbacca.
Like gutturals.
Yes.
Okay, a question that I always have wondered since the past 4 years.
Yeah.
I know that in the past you had a bass, but after you swap to like 9 or 10 strings, I don't really hear any bass. Like, is that actually a real bass, or do you use lower strings to replace the bass?
We definitely use bass guitar too, because the one thing that I've my 9 and my 10 string guitars are 30-inch scales, and those are about as long as you can get for most baritone guitars. But man, even if you have heavy gauge strings on a 10 string, it still does not sound
Like
it doesn't
bass.
it doesn't yeah it doesn't have the
Doesn't sound like
feeling of
anything.
it. So
Yeah, the pickups.
we still
pickups
use
are-
bass, but we you know it's the pitches, you know, my 9 and 10 string is pretty much tuned. The first 4 strings of those guitars are practically bass strings. So a lot of the times, what happens, and also, you know, I'll openly admit, low end and getting that bassy thump is always kind of a challenge, to get, especially, you know, when you have songs that that are dynamic in the sense of, if like songs like Planetfall, fast stuff that's like really rip roaring fast, there's not a lot of room, and it like mixing that song versus something slower like Shock Doctrine or something like that is something that I'm still learning to, you know, every album I do, I try to, I'm not just like trying to make songs that I like. I'm also trying to learn the techniques of trying to make it sound better, or sound, everybody's taste change every, you know, I would say every 6 months to a year. So like I try to evolve it. But the one, to answer your question about the bass, is a lot of it is the notes. I play bass like my guitar, so they're very much kind of unified. The guitars and bass are kind of unified in their tone, so they kind of make one. I wouldn't say one universal combined tone, but they're in the same scale and range. So then it kind of it's hard to distinguish them a lot of the times, because they're together note wise. So it's kind of just one big sound versus. I'm not much of a bass player in the sense of like I gotta kind of flip the script on the guitar and play something totally different. I'm very much like I'm a drummer by nature, so I'm like, my theory is like I got to keep it in the pocket. I got to keep it locked in together. So the reason the reason the bass is kind of, let's say, I wouldn't say inaudible, but not so present, is for multiple reasons. I'm still learning to kind of I'm still learning how to kind of get the tones separated so you can hear them, but then I'm also realizing, well, you know, a lot of the times they're playing roughly similar notes, so it kind of blends or it kind of washes together in a way. So, I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Cool.
Nice. So you said you play drums too?
Drums was the first instrument I ever learned how to. Was the first instrument I ever learned how to play. So I'm just a rhythm. I'm a rhythm guy. as obviously, like my guitars are mostly. I don't do a lot of lead. I don't do barely any leads. I'll do like ambient guitar background stuff, but I'm a rhythm guy by nature. So
Cool.
Mentioning about drums, I do have another question.
Yeah.
If I can
Go
find
of
a
course.
question.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when you write music, do you write, for example, with instruments in a particular order? Example, what instrument goes first? What instrument goes after?
Good question. Outside, so a lot of times a song when I start a song, I'm usually starting with an atmosphere or a melody that can come from anything, whether it's a piano, whether it's a string section, whether it's I usually look for, it's like sifting for gold at the beginning. When I start a song, I'm trying to find that little sequence that kind of grabs me. And once I get that, a lot of times I'll just kind of loop it a bunch of times. And then the first instrument, even before I pull out a bass guitar or a regular guitar, way before I even work on vocals, is drums. I have to have, because I live by the click, the metronome. Like I have to, everything to me just has to be that way. So if it's going to be like that, and that goes back to like my rhythm roots, is drums are my first instrument that I go for, because that gets me, because you'll hear this, for example, you'll hear a melody for, let's say, 16 bars, and the melody's fine, but there's no tempo to it yet, outside of whatever BPM you chose. But I'm always amazed on, the drummers that I've worked with in the past, when they're stuck with an idea, I'm like, change the cymbal. You're on the hi-hat, go to the ride, and then you change, and then all of a sudden the whole song changes. Changing one cymbal, going from double time to half time, can really open up the spectrum of ideas. So I usually start with drums, because drums gives me a bigger picture of, like, the drums to me are like the body of the song a lot of times, and that's coming from somebody who likes drums a lot. So I usually start with drums. Drums and atmosphere are kind of my first structural song making process.
Nice.
If you guys have heard the guitar riffs. I mean, they're locked with the drums pretty hard, so you can kind of see where the evolution would start. It would be with the rhythm section.
Absolutely.
And I do have another question.
Mm-hmm.
You did mention a lot about Mel, who record the vocals.
Yeah.
Does she contribute anything besides of making the vocal part?
I've known Mel since 2008, and throughout the process of her, because she kind of got thrown into Mechina as a feature back in, that would have been Coexist, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And well, actually, no, I take that back. The song Cepheus, the single Cepheus, is when she first kind of joined and did some backing vocals. I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. I'd like this. Then Coexist showed up, and we gave her the whole outro, and it just seemed to work so well. Everybody loved it. But during this whole time, Mel's been Mel is quite an ambitious gal, and she's got, during that time, up until recently, because she works for Sony now, so her priorities are, on her off time, are slightly changing. I don't want to speak for her, but she's had her own solo projects. She's written her own music, her Melrose stuff, and I've helped her with that, and the level of trust Mel and I have is like unquestionable, and we're not in competition with each other, so we never feel like we have to like overshadow each other. We just look at it as, okay, she trusts me on getting the main workload done, and she does come in and she's like, I got this cool piano idea, listen to it and be like, cool, we can work on it. And then everybody's life is busy in their own way, so she's found her role in the sense of she's a fantastic asset to the band, and that's all we can ask for. She doesn't particularly write the music in Mechina, but that's not because I told her she couldn't. It's just because it's not necessary, really, and that's okay. She doesn't. There's we've all, some of us have been in bands, some of us know people in bands, and we all know that there's sometimes members that are always trying to be like, no, this is my song, I wrote it. No, you got to write it the way I did it. And it's like when Mel comes in the studio and I've got a song kind of, let's say 50, 60, 70% done, and I need her to start throwing her stuff in, I'll give her my feedback in the sense of, this is what I think we should do. And then I just kind of throw the ball to her and let her run with it. And because I trust her, and because she enjoys the process, she enjoys writing music, it makes life so much easier. There's no, like, when I tell her, hey Mel, do that again, try it again, or hey Mel, that take sounded a little weird, she's the first one to be like, yeah, I felt it, let me try it again. It's just, once again, it's very, we work at the service of the song, so to speak, versus the song serving us. And I know that sounds a little pretentious, but what I'm trying to say is we're both setting our goals to be our egos are not involved with finishing the song, if that makes any sense.
Nice.
Yes.
Because there's so many times I can't. I've lost track of how many times I've been in a studio with the guitar player and the drummer bitching at each other about whose part's correct and who's not, and it's like, guys, just it's like, I'm so happy we don't have to deal with that.
Right.
So yeah, Mel's got a very unique specialty that I don't have, and it just works out great because and once again, it kind of depends per project, because our lives are, everybody in the band, everybody's lives is kind of up and down, left and right, and we just kind of do what we can when we can, and we don't we never have ego battles together. Like, her and I together are fantastic co-workers, so to speak. And trust is the big thing, because once again, nothing makes a band fall apart faster or a song fall flat on its ass than egos getting involved. And so we realize that a lot of the times, because there was, back in the days where we were playing lives, and when we were playing live and we had 5 members, there was always this push and pull of who's in, I guess, quote unquote, in charge. And it's just like, oh my God, it's so exhausting to somebody in the band's got a bad mood and it's affecting everybody. We've whittled it down to be like, I'm going to work with the people that I trust and that I can rely on and are good to work with and easy to work with. And And that's it. It's real simple on my end. I'm not That's why bringing in external or auxiliary vocalists and stuff like that. It's not an ego thing where it's like, oh, I'm replacing a vocalist that's been I'm because that's the stigma that we've been getting battered over the back of the head for years, is like, why is Mel overshadowing Dave? It's like, well, there's a bunch of reasons why you may assume that, but it's not particularly the case, So band dynamics are highly unique, and that's just kind of, once you accept that, you just kind of roll with it.
Cool.
Yeah, since you mentioned about Mel overshadowing Dave, those stuff. So I do have another question. Not sure if you have answered before or not. Since Siege and onwards, why is there so little Dave has vocals?
Though
I am also curious about this because I love hearing him.
Yeah, so from Siege through, I guess, Cenotaph, the last 3 full lengths, the reason to the initial reason to bring Mel more into the upfront was those, I would say 75% of the songs between those 3 albums are most of Siege is based on Ennio's character. And I was, and once again, I've also said, like, I don't really want, I never want the story to, like, overshadow the songs, because once again, then you get this weird, I've always been like, well, if the song's good, everything else can be kind of secondary. But the reason I chose to have Mel more up front is because those songs were more female character oriented, and
that makes sense. Yeah.
And it, and my favorite album that I've written is Siege, and it's not because it's just a lot of Mel. It's just the conglomeration of the quote unquote vibe, and a lot of people that look on it at face value be like, oh, Dave's getting replaced with Mel. But Dave's still on those albums. He's just not taken forefront all the time. And some of that, I would be lying to say that some of it wasn't logistic based too. I would never speak for anyone else, but a lot of it is, there's been times over the last few years where some people are just not as available as they were the year before, for example, and that's okay. And we just work around that. And I'm not, that wasn't exactly the, that wouldn't be exactly the answer that I would give in its entirety, but Dave just had a few kids over the last few years, and he's,
holy shit, seriously?
He's a dad, and like with being a brand new dad, comes a whole new thing of responsibilities, and so getting free time in certain parts of the year is a little bit strenuous, and
almost never happens.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I would never ever, like, make that an issue, because what's more important, honestly, truly,
exactly.
Like, what, so I'm not gonna say, I won't speak for Dave, but we're doing the best we can with the logistics that we have, and it's sometimes somebody has more free time than someone else during a project, and we just kind of work our way around it. I was trying to get Anna Hill from from conflict on the last single, but you know, for reasons she wasn't available this time around, and we just worked our way around it, and it worked out fine. So once again, I'm highly pragmatic with circumstances like that. But to answer your question about Mel maybe taking more of a front role, a lot of it really was, you know, because the songs were more female oriented. I thought it would probably make more sense at the expense of maybe more old school Mechina fans that want Dave screaming on everything, which I get and is cool. But it just didn't. It ended up not being that way, and that's, you know, that's kind of just accepting. You know, that's why music's so fun, because each time is a different experience, and you just kind of run with it.
Oh, of course.
So, following up question: what is the future of Mechina based on current state?
Well, we will be. So this last year we didn't do an album, and the in September we did Blessings, and that was our late start to the year for a few reasons. A lot was going on in 2023, and we were like, let's do a single, because we weren't sure we were going to do an album. And I'm kind of glad we didn't do an album. I don't want to divulge too many personal things. I had a family member that was on their way out and passed away in January, and I was well.
Sorry to hear.
It's part of life, and it is what it is. But right around November, December, I knew I knew it was. You got to follow your gut. Your instinct is pretty accurate a lot of the times. And I just knew that after Blessings came out, and it was the middle of September. I looked around at everybody, and I was like, I don't know if we could pull an album out in 2-3 months, guys. And then I'm looking around at logistics, and I was like, oh boy, I got to take care of this family member that's going down the drain. And a lot of people were like, why didn't you do an album? It's like, I'm not going to go public and just be like, post something super personal online, you know, getting the comments of, you know, what are you guys doing? It's like, well, first of all, it's kind of none of your business, but I mean, I'll be open. It's like, you know, there was a loss in the family, and I had to be there for that, and I could always write an album next year. And that's kind of what it ended up being. So when that was over with was when I got back in the studio and decided, okay, let's make up for the lack of an album, because once the dust settled after the loss, it was like, okay, let's go, let's keep the optimism. Don't fall in the trap of getting upset or getting too, I guess, paralyzed. We all know. Everybody in here knows what I'm talking about. And this last year was a fucking shit show, and the fact that we were able to even do singles was kind of a miracle. But since things have kind of settled down, the future is well, we're going to do another album this year, and it's already I've got 7 or 8 demos already, and I'm in talks with everybody else that's involved. So the future is looking like it's going to be all right, as long as there's no more catastrophes, I guess. So yeah,
praise Hydras.
Right. We're gonna be getting the ball rolling real soon, probably. I mean, the ball's been rolling. I mean, once The World We Saved was released, I took maybe few weeks off, because that's just how I have to do it. Once something gets released, I kind of gotta reevaluate, study my work, check my work, see what I did wrong, find the weak spots, find what I did right, take an assessment of the situation and then kind of go from there. And then as soon as maybe May came around, I was like, all right, time to write. And lo and behold, things are going pretty good. So we'll have more content soon enough.
Awesome sauce.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You
Coming
also
soon,
answer
TM.
my other question.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
also,
Good.
you also answer my other question about how come you released 2 singles.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we've never done 2 singles back to back, and I was like, well, let's see what's and Blessings and The World We Saved are like 2 totally kind of different songs in a sense. And I was just kind of making lemonade out of lemon, so to speak. The best case scenario was, well, I don't have it in me. I don't have the logistics to do an album January 1st of 2024. So let's do an album. Doing what, even though the songs are long, I mean, I have no problem making an 8-minute long song. But making 8 or 10 8-minute long songs is like, oh god, I gotta be prepared for that. So yeah, the 2 singles was just kind of like an attempt to see like what would happen if we released 2, because then as soon as the second single came out, then everybody, well, not everybody, but I started catching a vibe that people thought we were just gonna do singles, or just do singles for the time being. But it was kind of a one-off, making the best out of the circumstances. If we weren't going to do an album, we could at least give some 1 single or 2 singles a few months apart to kind of keep the momentum there versus just going silent and not doing anything. I've said it before and said that writing songs is my escape mechanism. We all have our escape mechanisms, or the way we deal with our own lives. And one thing that I know that always I know the one thing that's always carried me through is working on music. So it just never seems to stop. So hopefully within the next few months there'll be some rumblings of new stuff.
Nice.
Okay, is there anything in past where you have planned for future but later got scrapped?
I do no. I'm a big advocate of not wasting material. So I don't remember the last time I've worked on a song and then thrown it away or stopped. Like it's once I'm about 2-3 hours into a song, I've kind of committed to being like, all right, I'm going to finish this, whether it's fast or slow, or if I push it off to the side, I'm still going to finish it, because it's like, I'm not going to waste material. And in some of, and at this point, I don't, with as many songs as we have out, I can't predict what people like anymore, because our spectrum's we have too many, we have a lot of variation in our albums. And I'm not saying like we're like a prog band where like every song's completely different, but you go from Planet Fall to Ode to the Forgotten Few, you're like, these are 2 different bands if you showed anybody. And I don't mind making I don't mind taking a song that I might be skeptical of. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try, because some songs that I don't like at all, people love, and I can't predict that. So I don't waste material. I try to keep each project and each song. I try to make them the best they can be, and every song can only be so good, and that's also subjective. So it's like, where do you draw the line? I'm very much don't waste material. Even Shit, there was songs from there were 3 songs from Acheron. Once again, the fabled Acheron project was, there were 3-4 songs. That album was what, 70 minutes long, something like that. It was a long album, and there were still 2 or 3 songs on that album. I think there's 3 that never even, I couldn't finish it. I looked at them. I was like, I can't even finish the song. I'm already having trouble finishing the songs that were on the album, let alone these 3 other demos. Lo and behold, I saved those demos. Come back a few years later, and those songs ended up on Telestrian. So, I went back and I was like, this song was half-assed and not finished, and then I just put some more time into it. And I think Homeworld Salient was one of them. That song was 5 years old before it was even released.
No wonder that one sounds so much like Acheron.
Yep, good catch. It was written at the same time, yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't like wasting material. It makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad.
That kind of leads me into a question that I have. You wrote Empyrean like 2012, 2013-ish, but I noticed that the Empyrean that's available on your Bandcamp and Spotify is the V2 version. What happened to the V1?
So if we go way back to Empyrean's version 1, oh boy. Okay, so that would have been, 2009 is when I started writing Conqueror, and then my computer bricked and I had to start it all over again in 2010. 2011 is when Conqueror was released, and then 2012, because we didn't release an album January 1st of 2012. 2012, I was graduating college. I almost got married. It was a wild year, and the Empyrean album was my first, because Conqueror was written by a band, and that was kind of when we were still playing. I was still taking kind of priority of the production stuff, but then, like I said, we stopped playing shows in 2013. So 2013, Empyrean was my first attempt at, like, I'm gonna do it myself, quote unquote, and it sounded a lot like someone's first attempt on doing it themselves. So the first version of Empyrean was, I mean, I know I don't I get, that was the first time where I got actually like a bunch of criticism for like, hey, these songs are good, but it kind of sounds like trash, and I was so confused because like, I worked so hard on this, but once again, it was my first attempt on doing it all myself, or at least taking like the production standpoint in terms of responsibility upward, whereas like, I'll just take care of the drums and the mixing and the mastering. Conqueror, I had it mastered by another studio that's not far from me, a studio that I know. And so version 2 was after I did the version 1. I mean, within a few weeks, I don't know if anyone in here was around back then, but within a few weeks, I went back into the studio and I tried my hand at doing a different mix master, trying to make it sound better from the complaints. And then it kind of got, the version 1 and version 2 kind of got blurred together, and now it's kind of like, who knows which version is which, honestly, and that's just how it went, and that's kind of my fault. But yeah, that was a wild first experience, in the sense of that was my first full production attempt, and it showed. but that's how it goes for when you take up a new hobby, you always kind of trip and fall the first few times. So you got to give myself benefit. I can't be too hard on myself because everybody kind of goes through that, you know.
Exactly. If you want to live forever, you're going to have to die a few times.
100%. 100%.
Certainly.
So yeah, Empyrean was an interesting time. But then once again, that like it like I was saying with the Acheron and then the World We Lost, how I get kind of like I was like, fuck, I gotta make up for this. I gotta make up for this. Empyrean's release and kind of people being like, I don't know about this. It sounds a little janky. Is why I put so much effort into Xenon. It's like I gotta make up for that release. You know what I mean? It's just kind of how it went.
Yeah. And then we all know how Xenon went.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out pretty okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild time. It was a different time too.
Nice.
Okay, so I have another question.
Okay.
Are the songs inspired by a certain video game?
Inspired by a certain video game? No, I don't take a lot of inspiration from games. I guess like well, I mean, it would be naive. I'd be lying to say if Mass Effect's vibe in quotes didn't affect my trajectory, so to speak. Fallout maybe, but this is so long ago. Games like now I play games and I'm just chilling. I don't really, you know, we're so deep into the story building with Mechina that I'm kind of now trying to keep together the ideas that have kind of formed over the last, you know, decade. But video games wise, I mean, I've been a gamer since 92 91, like when I was a little kid. So I've been gaming my entire life. That's a difficult answer to question, it's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
I'm sure my gaming history has something to do with my taste in music.
Nice.
So are you like more into science fiction games because the theme of Mechina is like future?
Yeah, I always thought I always thought sci-fi was, you know, sci-fi and fantasy is like, let's be frank, Lord of the Rings is awesome. I love Lord of the Rings, and the score is fantastic. And I've always used that as a kind of a gauge on like what the pinnacle of good soundtracks are. And you know, I probably take more inspiration from movie soundtracks than I do from like gaming soundtracks. I can't even begin. Can't even count how many times I've listened to the Gladiator soundtrack from Hans Zimmer. I mean, it's just. I remember having that on CD and just listening to it on a CD player with headphones, back to back to back. So I'm more influenced by like movie soundtracks and scores than games. But once again, it's kind of like, do games prioritize their soundtracks like movies? Not really. You know, they have leitmotifs and common themes in games, but like movie scores are where I really find myself getting influenced by.
Awesome sauce.
And I have another question. A little bit of sudden change of the topic. Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
what do you do when not making music? If it not sure if it is too personal or not.
No, I've always everybody's got to have a hobby. Otherwise, everyone's got to at least have a hobby, at least one. If I'm not in the studio, and I'm not gonna say gaming because gaming is just leisurely in the sense of, you know, I'm not just gonna sit around and game, but I got into I got into like raising chickens, for example. Like I have 50 chickens.
That's awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's just weird to like to be like, oh, like chicken farmer, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna plant some fruit trees and chicken farm and figure out how like growing food is just for fun, you know, like I go outside and just be like, you know, this is better than, or it's there's a great great analogy where like who is it? Daniel Day-Lewis, the guy who did like There Will Be Blood. That actor, like that Grammy award-winning actor, he like quit acting and he's like in Italy making shoes, right? And like when word got out that he went to go, he just gave up on his Grammy award-winning acting career to go make shoes in Italy. They asked him like why he did that, and he said when you're in your own head as in his case an actor, but let's just generalize as artists, when you're in your own head and that's like your whole life for a minute, it's actually beneficial to have something to do that's more tangible in the sense of something you can work with your hands versus your brain. And as somebody when you're an artist, you're always inside your own head all the time. And that's why artists are crazy. A lot of them are. That's why artists have substance abuse problems. That's why artists have all types of issues, because they're all in their head all the time. And I found that getting my hands dirty in something that I don't particularly have to use my brain too much for, but more of my body, more of my hands, more my problem solving, so I'll go out finding something that's just totally foreign to making music seems to be like a nice relief. And Dave's a big fisherman. He loves fishing. I like target shooting. I like growing like gardens and having chickens and stuff, because it's a little bit more simple. It has nothing to do with music, and that's kind of healthy. So it's kind of finding this duality that will kind of keep you stable. Because trust me, right around everybody gives me shit, because right around November when I'm doing an album, they're like, God, you look like shit, Joe. I was like, yeah, you should see how I feel. You know what I mean? Because it's just like you're so in it, and you're so one-dimensional, like tunnel vision. And I found out that like, okay, I go in the studio and I grind it out and I'm burnt and I'm tired and I need to get my hands dirty on something. So I'll go like work on something like woodworking related, or go fix a fence outside. Like, it sounds so basic and rudimentary, but it's like sometimes the simplest things will just kind of relieve your inner artistry that's driving you crazy sometimes. So yeah, what I do on the off time is just a little bit of outdoorsy stuff, and that's a nice contrast to me sitting in a dark room in front of glowing monitors for 6 to 10 hours a day trying to figure out what art means. So yeah, it's just that's my long over exaggerated explanation for that.
Yes.
And everybody should have chickens. They're pretty dope.
Yeah.
They're little dinosaurs.
I always dream about one day I should grow some chickens on my own.
It was we had a flock of chickens, and the rooster is such a Chad that he knocked up like 15 of the hens, and then like we go out.
That is pretty hardcore.
Dude, he's just an absolute Chad. And he's like 4 times bigger than the hens. He's the biggest rooster I've ever seen. And all of a sudden, we went from like 20 chickens to like 45, thanks to this dude. Unfortunately, we had some extra roosters that were born, and those, you can't have too many of those. That's one thing that I realized. You have too many roosters and you have a whole world of problems. So it raising baby chickens from, cracking the egg, it was like fucking Jurassic Park.
Nice.
The egg cracks open, you're like, what is this? It is life.
They are little dinosaurs.
They are dinosaurs. They're crazy. It's wild.
All right, Levy, did you have any more questions for
Yes.
Joe? Okay.
A little bit more than halfway through, but they are simple questions.
That's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
This question might be really short. I might have missed the answer before, but I might ask again. Who writes the lore?
That would be me.
Yes.
That would be me. Because I trust me, it's just as convoluted me explaining the story to Mel or Dave in the moment when I've sat around writing it all, and I'm like, all right, so this is what this is going to be like, and they're like looking at me like, okay, and I'm like, trust me, it'll work, I promise.
So that means those who said Dave writes the lore are lying.
I have tried to keep up and I can't.
Yeah, no, I don't expect anyone to really to be sitting around writing lore for Mechina, because it's even to Mel and Dave, for example, it's once again, we always kind of, when we're all together, we're prioritizing the music, because we're all kind of like in this to kind of finish the product or finish the essence of the song, and then I'll write the lyrics and then kind of show the lyrics to whoever's doing vocals, and then I kind of throw the ball in their court and just be like, you kind of take it from here, do your thing with it. And sometimes we have to change words, sometimes I have to flip lines around, it's all good. But yeah, a lot of the lore stuff is kind of pre-planned by me, and then we just roll with it.
So, next question. Have you encountered a situation where you were running out of ideas, like you cannot write music because you were out of ideas, and how will you deal with it?
I do not. Everybody has writer's block, and everybody has writer's block for different reasons. Like mentioning before, this last winter, my priorities were heavily pulled away from music, and it wasn't as much writing block as it was, like, I don't know if stress would be the right way, but the priorities just changed. So if I'm writer's block, if I'm going, like, for example, if I go downstairs today after this and I load up Pro Tools, and I want to work on something, and I don't have a deadline. I don't have any auxiliary things on my back other than maybe like a scheduling situation. Like, I got to leave at this time to go do something else. If my rule is, I give myself an hour. If I can't find momentum within an hour, and I'm not under any like specific obligation to be like, self-imposed regulation where it's like you have to have something done by today. It's like I only do that in deadline time. So I give myself an hour. If I come across something, even if I get like 15, 20, 30 seconds of an idea down, I'm cool with it. And I'll work on it later, and I'll come back to it. And if I hit a brick wall, I just save it, and I maybe move on to something else, or I just work on it another day. But I feel fortunate enough to feel that I'm never at a loss for ideas. I could always come up with something if I needed to. And not just out of like, oh, like I'm going to be flippant with it and just write nonsense for the sake of writing nonsense. I can start demos pretty quick. I'm never really lost for inspiration, so to speak. And I'm not really inspired by other music a lot of times. A lot of times I'm inspired by events. I'm inspired by philosophy. I'm a very visual person, so sometimes I've got a mental image of something maybe story related or something that I wanted to depict story related, and I was like, okay, like I tell people, I ask other artists this a lot of times, like what does the color blue sound like to you, right? Like like try to answer that question. Everybody's gonna have a different answer to that, and that's exactly the key to being creative. It's like there may not be no right answer, but if you can at least storm that idea, you may find something. Writer's block is the biggest writer's block that I come into is during the lyric thing, where I need to be lore specific, because lore specific, it's like, well, if we were writing a screenplay, everyone, we would need like paragraphs and paragraphs of conversation between characters, and I realized, well, you can't do that in an album. I can do that in little like transitional pieces, or like intros, outros, midtros type of shit, where it's like more sound design. But when it comes to the song, it's still got to have a melody. It's still got to have some rhyming techniques, all that stuff. So the musical writing block, not worried about it. I could write music for the rest of my life. Lyrics is where I'll run into those brick walls, and those are where you will see me stand up, slam my chair into my desk, and walk out of the room to go do something else faster during lyric writing time, because I'm like, I can't fucking get this chorus to figured out. I'll come back to it. And a lot of it is passive listening. Passive listening is one of my favorite techniques of problem solving songs, which is take your demo, put it on your phone, turn your Bluetooth on, get in the car, go for a drive, listen to your song passively. Because when you're in the studio looking at your audio files, or if any of you guys do graphic art, when you're in Photoshop or whatever, and you're looking at your art and you're sitting there looking at it and analyzing it, or looking at the audio files, and they're playing back, you're particularly honed in on all the details, which makes life a little bit more chaotic if you're not disciplined that day. But passive listening is a great way of, you're driving, so you have to pay attention to driving. So like if you're driving, you're listening to your demo, and all of a sudden your attention gets pulled away from your focus of driving to like, oh, what was that in the song? Boom, there's a little check mark you've just discovered a problem by passive listening. Because you will always find a problem when you're active listening, because you're actively looking for issues. And some people with some attitude, some attitudes will always find a problem in something. And I found that sometimes I just got to get out of the studio, go do something else, and check my work in another atmosphere, another location, another circumstance, for me to kind of get out of a writer's block.
Yeah. A different question.
Okay.
Some bands usually tour, meanwhile you stop to tour. And then some other bands start to stream play through on Twitch. Have you considered about maybe make some live stream on Twitch where you play like the closest Mechina live you can get nowadays?
Yeah, I remember when that was. I remember when in 2020, when the pandemic, that became a real thing where bands no one could tour, so they would go online and stream it. I mean, it doesn't. I guess if you knew everybody in the band's personal like opinion on that, it's just not something we would be really into. We just have enough time together to write music, let alone the logistics of. I mean, there's all the bands that I know and I've worked with and I come across in the Chicago-ish area is some of them are like, we got to go on tour, we got to go on tour, we got to go on tour, and I was like, do you really have to go on tour? Like what do you like? Can you going on tour is so risky. I mean, it's fun if you got a good crowd, if you've got things in order. The logistics of playing shows is just an absolute. I mean, one of the last shows we ever played, we played up in Wisconsin, and it was in front of like 3 people, and it was a great venue, and it sounded good, and we played so tight that show. It was the tightest show I think we've ever played, and no one was there to hear it. And we all kind of looked at each other. We're like, this is so tiresome. You spend all day driving up to another state, loading gear. Your whole day's gone. Now I'll come back to like the streaming live type thing, but the live stuff never really resonated with us because we got a lot going on and we can't just go on tour. You know what I mean? Everybody's got jobs and stuff, and to go on tour, going on tour when you're 22 is way easier to do than when you're like 35. So we just kind of, it's been easier for us to just prioritize content versus trying to split up the time between writing music and then all the show stuff. So it would be kind of cool to do like a live stream, but then then I would have to go find a drummer, and all the drummers that I mean, could I find a drummer? Sure, I could. I just don't want to right now, So it's kind of just prioritizing what time is available that makes sense for everybody, that's not being obtrusive.
Well, I do see some bands where they don't bring the entire band, just the band leader to play the guitar in Twitch.
Oh yeah. I'm not one for being on camera. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm self-conscious. I don't know. I've never really been. I've done a few guitar videos, but I'm just not. I'm not really into put my face on camera. I don't know what it is. I like sitting in the dark room just making content.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I get it, but I just it's it hasn't been for me for a hot minute. I haven't really been. I've liked to. I like the disassociation between the characters and the lore and the concept albums taking the forefront over the band members, which is kind of counterproductive in the sense of what a lot of bands do, where it's like, hey, we all got to take our band photo, everyone look angry and metal and shit, and it's like, no, we don't really want to do that. We'd much rather make cool art and cool concept albums and let that shine versus putting our faces up front.
Okay, final question.
Okay.
What do you have to say to those haters on internet, like those who complain farting guitars on YouTube in the past?
Farting guitars, that guy, the farting guitar guy.
Wait, I'm not familiar with this. Could somebody please fill me in?
Every release, every release that goes on YouTube, there's somebody whose name I can't pronounce talks about my guitars, my farting guitars. Because they're
farting guitars.
Yeah, because it's because they're low tuned, and he's like, it's the I don't know. Part of me feels like he's just laughing and trolling, but part of me really thinks he's like schizophrenic or something. Yeah. Well, going back to the comments on YouTube is, well, I mean, it's been a journey. I'm not really on social media anymore, and honestly, the one thing that I've learned over the last few releases was I can't sit around and I can no longer sit around and read all the comments, because it's such a and this is something that me and Dave's very much immune to this stuff. Yeah, he's been off the internet a lot longer than like Mel and I, so to speak. But Mel will read the comments and she'll get real emotional, and then me and her got to talk and be like, Mel, these people don't know you. It like, relax, blah blah blah. This is music, and everybody's allowed to have their taste. Everyone's allowed to have their opinions. I can't keep up with it. If people are upset that, God forbid, a band is changing their sound because they don't want to be writing the same, because in one message I'll get a message saying you guys are just writing the same shit over and over and over, and then on the next comment they're like, you guys are changing too much, and I'm like, well, who's right? Well, technically, they're both right in their own sense. I'm gonna let them have it, and I'm gonna just move on, because I can't delegate. And who am I to tell them that they're wrong? In a sense, this is an art. This isn't math. This isn't a hard science where it's like, you did the equation wrong, idiot. It's like, well, this is a song. So if dealing with the fluctuations of both positive and negative feedback, I'm just learning to let it kind of roll off my shoulders now, versus in the past where I was like taking it really personal or getting really frustrated. Because I mean, in the heat of the moment, when you're frustrated, you kind of explode your emotions. You amplify your emotions more than you need to be. And a lot of times it's like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do to make these people happy. And I was like, wait a second. The whole, I've told this to Mel. I was like, Mel, the main priority is like, you and I need to be in the studio listening to this. And if we feel good about it, we've already accomplished our number one goal. We as artists have created something that we are interested in. We may not like love it, or we may not be like, oh my god, this is the best thing we've ever written, but if once it crosses that threshold, that check mark's already been done, and then it's on to letting everyone else listen to it, and then you just kind of deal with it. I've learned recently, especially when you have to deal with loss of life kind of face to face, you start to really understand what's worth worrying about and what's not worth worrying about. So I'm also learning to this day what's worth getting upset over, what's worth getting, I get, every once in a while I get emails that are just the kindest, nicest, most heartfelt things anyone could ever get. And then the next email is like, you should quit your fucking band. You're a disgrace to this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, okay, well, someone's having a bad day, versus being like, oh my God, I'm going to fight this dude on the internet. It's like, no, I'm going to go play with my dogs out in my front yard while this psycho is having a bad day for no reason. That's kind of, I just, what are you supposed to do? And now that it's becoming, I don't know, how is anyone supposed to deal with thousands, if not tens of thousands of reactions? It's like, how would anybody deal with that?
The human brain is not evolved for that kind of thing.
No, it's really not. But our first emotion is to withdraw inward because we feel like we're getting ganged up on. You know, nobody likes being at the receiving end of a mob, so to speak. So our first reaction is to be like, "Oh my God, what? Everybody's reacting crazy, panic, panic, panic." When I'm like, this is just music. This isn't like domestic policy or something or like a legal issue. It's not worth worrying about. So dealing with the fluctuation in comments from the fan base, you know, even Mel made a really good comment this last album around. She's like, you know, even the people that are being negative right now, they still care, because if they didn't care, they wouldn't be telling you. So I was like, okay, that's such a optimistic way of looking at it, and I'm going to take it. You know, like, even the people that are frustrated that maybe we're getting more singing and more melodic than maybe our older stuff, which was more quote unquote brutal. Well, you know, they care in their own different way, and if it comes out with them being kind of shit talky, you know what? Take a look around on the internet right now. What's the most popular trend to do? It's to be a dick. Everyone loves being a troll now. So it's just part of the way it goes on the internet now, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just let it be. So I just kind of let it go now. It's not worth me losing sleep over. I get it. I get why people are like, what are you guys doing? It's like, well, you're not here in the room while we're doing this, so I can't really explain it. But it's like, I understand why somebody who would listen to like Xenon or Acheron would listen to something like Venator and be like, what the fuck is this? Ooh, this isn't even the same band. It's like, well, no, it's not. It's been 10 years, dude. It's like, our artist, the artistry is part of being an artist is the excitement of discovering stuff. And that's where the bread and butter is. It's like it's the creation aspect of it that's the most vital to like an artist's well-being, and Mel and I work really well in that creation aspect, and that's the main. Would we be doing this if we weren't releasing? Would we be writing music if we didn't have any fans? Probably still, yeah. You know, as we're getting older and our jobs are asking more of us and our families are asking more of us, and life's just, you know, it's not like it was when we were younger. You just kind of evolve with it. And yeah, I mean, I could talk for an hour about that dichotomy between, you know, artistic opinion and what is considered objective and subjective. But I mean, it's a good question. And I'm sure, you know, that question was probably brought up because it's so apparent. You know, there is a schism in the fan base, and that's okay. That just means something's evolving in a way that's kind of out of everybody's control, and that's my most optimistic way of looking at it. And I don't always consider it a negative. Even if people are being negative, I'm not surprised, because it's just kind of, it's what gets people riled up, you know. But yeah, I just kind of, I'm letting it go a lot of the times now, because it's if I took everyone's opinion to heart, I would get nowhere. I wouldn't be able. It would cancel itself out. You know what I mean? It's like if you've made a piece of art, if anybody in here made a piece of art, and you had one person say this is great, and then the next person, you know, you had two people in front of you, you show it to them. One person says it's awesome, the other person says it's trash. Are you going to sit there and try to decipher everything between two different brains? It's like, no, just let them have their opinion and move on and hope for the best next time, or don't worry about it. Life's too short. So I've kind of backed away from the the social media aspect, because it's kind of not worth it to me.
Yeah, thanks for answering all my questions.
Yeah, not a problem, man. Appreciate it.
So back to Cosmic, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mike,
Hello.
are you still awake?
I am still here, and yes, I'm definitely not. No, I'm kidding. Ninja, you popped in here late. Do you have any questions for Joe?
I'm just listening.
Just
I'm
listening,
muted
no
doubly.
problem. No
I'm
problem.
just listening, muted doubly.
Not a problem. Well, does anybody else have any questions over the course of this Q&A conversation that they'd like to ask Joe?
Wait, does that mean that the stream is gonna finish soon if nobody does?
Yes, I have to go to bed.
Oh shit. Okay.
He said that with. He does need to go to bed. He's like, yeah, because I'm going to bed, guys.
Okay, so
I need my sleep.
If it's okay to ask about like non-Mechina related stuff,
That's
can I
fine.
do that?
Yeah, that's
Sure.
fine.
Okay, so Joe, you know how I'd messaged you about like that the 3D animated sci-fi that I wanted to license a couple of Mechina songs for.
Yes.
Now hearing that in your off time you also really enjoy a lot of like ambient and folk and like sort of like traditional kind of like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now also knowing like just how fucking massively busy your schedule is, way more so than I just assumed. When the time eventually comes, because this is not going to be an immediate thing, because I have a bunch of other like sci-fis that I'm writing, which actually is due thanks in large part to you for getting me on that road. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Yeah. Would it be eventually possible to ask you, basically to hire you and any number of musicians that you personally know and that you would be able to work with to essentially write the score and soundtrack for that for people listening?
Yeah.
Okay, so for people listening, I have an idea. Like, I'm writing a fully developed sci-fi universe right now, and eventually it's going to be
I'm listening.
yeah, it's going to be eventually it's going to be a multiverse.
Oh, thank God.
In a on a parallel version of Earth.
Okay,
That's actually what's that?
keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. On a parallel version of Earth that's actually populated by elves and some other race I haven't figured out yet. But like, it's not a fantasy. It's a sci-fi because the elves are actually they were genetically engineered by another species of aliens. But anyway, there's this one particular elf who is like the star of the show, and she unlike the like she's a robot, and she also takes up like sword fighting and like Japanese philosophy and that kind of thing, and yeah, and so I was wanting to ask like if if it's something that you could theoretically have time for. And when the time eventually comes, because I'm thinking that I also want to do like an audio cast version of it first and then turn it into a 3D animated TV series, once I have enough Patreon supportage.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, the having auxiliary like soundtrack work, I'm always down for that type of stuff. So, yeah, sure.
Awesome. So yeah, like because initially I was thinking like I would just license just file licenses for for a bunch of like industrial tracks and like folk tracks.
It
and
might
shit like that.
it might be better to just do an original score for it, so it's not just Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah, when the time comes, just let me know, and we'll figure that out, because there is definitely downtime in my life where I could do something like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because like towards the end of the TV series, I have like a very, very, very specific course of events that I want to file a license with you for the song for Anagenesis, which I think
It
is
sounds like you should write some music for him.
My music skills are way out of practice, like way out of practice.
Get him in practice. I mean, it'll be better.
Why that would take time away from my writing, and what I do is I'm a sci-fi writer, you know. So
Yeah.
like if I were to start taking time away from like like actual writing, then like both my writing and my music would both suffer.
Yeah, well,
like written it.
Yeah, it's incredibly time.
Right.
Well, it's incredibly time consuming to manage both writing a physical outline for a massive story, and then also
it's a full universe.
Yeah, and then also universe, knowing music
like
theory to a degree.
Scale?
It's a lot to manage.
Trust me, like there's a reason why I outsource a lot of my post-production artwork to Ricky. Is I can't work in Photoshop like he can.
He's fucking amazing.
Yeah, so like I don't I'm a Pro Tools guy. I can get on Pro Tools and I can rip through that, but you put me in front of any other DAW or any other kind of where I'm going to be slow as hell, and that's just the truth of it. Sometimes you just got to outsource extra work to other people that can do it faster or more efficient. Like as much as I would love to be like a graphic artist too, because I'm so visual, I don't have the means right now to like go full on with that. I would have to take 2 years off of writing Mechina music to get good with graphic art. You know what I mean?
Just to get good at it. Yeah.
Just to even get my hands dirty in a sense. So I get it. Yeah, and when it, like I said, when the time comes, just hit me up and we will that would be fun. And those are always good. Those are always good for everybody in the sense of like, hey, check out what we've accomplished. You know, it's not exposure stuff, but it kind of is, you know.
Yeah, like just because like I'm funding everything myself, like I don't take investor money. I'm starting out like right now. I'm writing my first book, and like I'm just gonna have to publish books for a while I gain a Patreon supporter base.
Well, you never know. You never know what'll happen next year. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you may strike gold by accident and not know it. Just that's the persistence game. That's where it's at. You know, just you'll figure it out in time.
But yeah, so like I'm totally self-funded, and so like I'm not going to be able to afford to commission a 3D animation for a while. So like I'm going to be starting out with audio casts, basically kind of like those old radio shows that they used to have in like the 1940s.
Yep.
You know, those kind of things. So like there's sound effects of like people walking and like doors opening and shit like that. And,
sound design stuff I'm pretty okay with too, so I can help you.
You can do that stuff too.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who can do Foley audio?
Yeah, Mel and I are getting into that right now.
Holy fuck!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mel just got a wicked awesome. What do they call it? I guess a sound design microphone setup. It's one of the. It looks like a blimp. It's got I think they call it like the OTM mic placement. They're like wicked good mics, and we're actually right now. She was over at my place yesterday. We were recording like gun folly, like reloading, charging, like gun sounds, because she's like, we're all first person shooter fans, and she's like, I know some people at Sony, I want to send them some audio files, I'm bringing my mics over. It's like, okay, cool. So yeah, we're already getting into that, and that's actually something me and her on the side are going to be trying to investigate over the next few months. So yeah, totally.
So if you guys are getting involved in, and if you also know other people who like have a lot of experience doing like Foley audio and things like that, this first book that I'm writing, first I'm gonna release it in print and digital form.
Okay.
Once, what's going on?
I think it was just a hot mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, like, provided that the print and digital copies sell enough, and I make enough money off of it to be able to do so, I want to release it as that one as an audiobook with all the Foley audio, blah blah blah, etc. etc. Would you guys be down for doing that?
I mean, yeah, it all comes down to the logistics,
Like
What, Ninja?
you said, licensing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to, because there was a conversation with a client of mine who hit me up and actually had a third party from the outside ask for us to do that, but but they wanted like a flat fee, and I was like, well, a flat fee is too risky because who knows, like the first 5 minutes of this video might not need much, and then the last 5 minutes might need a ton. How are you supposed to find the medium between that? So honestly, it's just kind of like once you get to that step and you have like an example, you would just send that to me, ask me, we'll figure out what we would want to do and go from there. I'm down for it. It's kind of just dependent on what would be required, because not everything needs to have sound all the time. So some parts may be really easy to do, some parts may be a little bit more tricky.
Yeah.
So you just wing it.
Okay, so is your email still the same, the apothecary one?
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, well, fuck, in that case, once the book is finished, I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, please, that'd be cool.
Okay, awesome. All right, so damn, I guess that the stream is over now.
Well, I'm still recording.
Mike's asleep.
Yeah.
Snoring.
Oh, he's asleep.
Beep, 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 beep.
Oh, he'll honk. Me.
Well,
Either one of us is gonna record the me.
Anyone else got anything? Otherwise, Mike's gonna black out.
Mike's gonna fucking black out. Oh,
I'm
God.
gonna black out, brother.
What will we ever do?
Brother.
What will we ever do without Mike? My God.
Memphi has one question.
Okay.
Oh.
Memphi, you're up.
Memphi's asleep.
Do 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 do.
I guess while Murphy gets situated here, Joe,
Hello.
are you more of a hunk shoe or a hunk me type of person?
I have no idea what you just said.
Sorry, I kind of interrupted. Must have.
I don't snore, so I'm grateful.
I snore. LOL.
Did you sleep on your back?
Joe,
No.
Joe, do you like? Oh, Joe,
Go ahead,
do
then.
you like moths or butterflies?
I would probably choose butterfly.
Nice.
Fuck. I mean, oh, this is my choice.
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, Memphi.
Hey, back brother.
You fucking.
One question's kind of like, it just came to my head. Have you read any of my works I posted in Storytime? And if so, what's your opinion on them?
I have. I don't have an opinion on them because I don't think I've read all of them. If you they're in Storytime.
Yes, I have them in a thread. I have them in a thread so that you can you don't have to sift through the tons of text messages there.
Yeah, before I answer that, because I don't want to give you any false impressions, is let me read them like over again, for sure.
Okay.
Excellent.
When does one have to start Mephi's novel?
So I wrote all. So as of now, I've written from Conquer to Telesterian in album and like chronological order per section, if that makes sense. So I did Conquer, Empyrean, Xenon, and then I did Acheron, Progenitor, As Embers Turn to Dust, and then Telesterian. I'm currently working on Siege and Acheron, but those two are taking a hot minute.
Oh, you're writing fan fiction?
Yeah, that's great, but like, when do I get? When is the first post like as a time?
Oh, the first. So it's on quote V. Hold up. To answer your question, it kind of is kind of fan fiction, but it's meant to be like an adaptation, although some portions of the story are not canon.
Oh, thank God! Well, the portions of my stories are just massacres.
You were saying what the first pages were?
Oh no, they're just like, oh yeah, they were alive and they fucking killed each other. The end.
Best story ever.
No.
There were two planets.
They're separated by chapter, and you have to click next at the bottom.
Yeah, Mephi, I'll take a look at them. I know I've skimmed a few. I wasn't 100. I'm turning into a boomer, so I don't know what I'm looking at sometimes.
Boomer.
Oh, you're turning into the boomer. You're turning into the boomer. Fucking hell. What hair do you have left?
I'm gray as hell, man. You should see how much fucking gray hair I have now.
You're gray. Mine's gone. Fuck off.
Cool. Well,
yes.
Do you wanna call it? And then do you guys want to do this? Do you want to do this a month from now? Do you want to do this a few weeks from now? I don't. Whatever works. Just let me know. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Yeah.
Would it be possible
I'm
to schedule one of these for a weekend? Because during the week, it just so happened that I didn't get called into work today, and fucking
my vote doesn't count because I just kind of like invented this and yelled.
Yeah, if we could do another poll or something on dates and stuff. I don't mind. Weekends are fine with me as long as I have enough time to plan it.
Closed in Canada. The
Canada.
No, US.
Canada.
in fucking Leafland. Yeah.
Leaflet? No, I need someone to post something for Canada. I only live in America and I'm transporting Canadian V.
Canadian land.
American. Fucking PayPal.
I second that.
Yes.
The PayPal line through Australia to Canada via America. Oof, it's fucked. Oof.
Oof.
Oof. Is it Mechina or Mechina?
The first one. You got it right on the first one.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Damn it.
You're not the only one, dude.
For fuck's sake.
I think on that note, I think that's a great note to end it on.
That's fine.
No, fuck you, it's been 8 years. Go.
Bye,
You're saying it wrong the whole time. My whole life was a lie. All right, everyone. Well, I think Mike's getting off, and we'll continue.
No, you
this
just said the truth. Stop telling your life is a lie. You've made my life a lie. Fuck you.
What is going on over there?
Mike says this.
Shit, no. I'm